It's 22nd of May, 8:30 in the morning. Welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing, and I'm your host, Rich Benfield, standing in for Stephen Ridgway. So, headlines today. Zoom adopts NIST-approved post-quantum end-to-end encryption for meetings. Critical Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager flaw allows authentication bypass. Black Basta Group claims to have hacked Atlas, one of the largest US oil distributors. Ghost Engine mining attacks kill EDR security using vulnerable drivers. And Rockwell Automation warns admins to disconnect devices from the internet. So, let's talk about Zoom. So, Zoom adopts NIST-approved post-quantum end-to-end encryption for meetings. So, popular enterprise service provider Zoom has announced a rollout of post-quantum end-to-end encryption for Zoom meetings with support for Zoom Phone and Zoom Rooms coming in the future. As adversarial threats become more sophisticated, so does the need to safeguard user data, the company said in a statement. With the launch of post-quantum E2EE, we are doubling down on security and providing leading-edge features for users to help protect their data. So their encryption uses Kyber 768, which is aiming for security roughly equivalent to AES 192. Kyber was chosen by the US Department of Commerce's National Institute of Standards and Technology, that's NIST to you and I, in July 2022 as the quantum-resistant cryptographic algorithm for general encryption. However, for post-quantum E2EE to be enabled by default, it requires all meeting participants to be on Zoom desktop or mobile app version 6.0.10 or higher. In the event some of the participants don't meet this minimum version requirement, standard E2EE will be used. So the whole thing with this is to mitigate threats posed by malicious actors using quantum computing. So in theory, quantum computers could crack quite trivially classic mathematical problems that are considered computationally intensive, which makes cryptanalysis much easier. Okay, so that's nice. Moving on, Critical Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager flaw allows authentication bypass. So we've got some CVEs for this. So CVE 2024-29849, which has a CVSS score of 9.8. And Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager users are being urged to update to the latest version following the discovery of this critical security flaw that can permit an adversary to bypass authentication protections. Now, Veeam have also disclosed 3 other shortcomings impacting exactly the same products, which are CVE 2024, of course, 29850, which has a CVSS score of 8.8, which allows account takeover via NTLM relay. CVE 2024-29851 with a score of 7.2, which allows a privileged user to steal NTLM hashes of a Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager service account if it's not configured to run as a default local system account. And finally, CVE 2024-29852, which has a score of 2.7, which allows a privileged user to read backup session logs. Interesting, 2 out of 3 there are to do with NTLM. And I believe I read somewhere, and you'll have to search this up for yourself, but I do believe that Microsoft are actually dropping NTLM at some point in the near future. Anyway, all of the flaws with Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager have been addressed in version 12.1.2.172. However, Veeam noted that deploying Veeam Backup Enterprise Manager is optional and that environments that do not have it installed are not impacted by the flaws. Okay? So if you're running it, obviously standard rules apply. Check your version, update it, keep yourself patched. Moving on to Black Basta Group claims to have hacked Atlas, one of the largest US oil distributors. So Black Basta, they're an extortion group, and they claim to have hacked this huge distributor of fuel in the US. So they distribute to 49 continental US states with over 1 billion gallons of fuel per year. And they claim to have stolen 730 gig of data from Atlas, which includes a lot of corporate data, accounts, HR, finance, executive department data, and of course users and employees data. The gang published a series of documents as proof of the hack, including people's ID cards, data sheets, payroll, payment requesters, and a picture of the folder exfiltrated from the victim's systems. The oil company has yet to disclose the alleged incident. So Blackbuster have been active since around April 2022, and like other ransomware operations, it implements a double extortion attack model. So in November 2022, Sentinel Labs researchers reported having found evidence that links the Blackbuster ransomware gang to the financially motivated hacking group Fin7. In November 2022, experts at Cybereason Global SOC also observed a surge in Quackbot infections as part of an ongoing aggressive Quackbot malware campaign that leads to Blackbuster ransomware infections in the US. So the attack chain starts with a Qbot infection. The operators use a post-exploitation tool, Cobalt Strike, to take over the machine and finally deploy the Blackbuster ransomware. And the attack begins with a spam or phishing email containing malicious URLs. And remember, if you get an email that your spam filters haven't handled properly, but they do contain URLs, run those URLs through drakoi.com. Okay? And that will tell you the reputation of those URLs and whether you're probably safe or not to click on them. So, next article, we have got Ghost Engine mining attacks kill EDR security using vulnerable drivers. So this is a malicious crypto mining campaign codenamed Ref4578 has been discovered deploying a malicious Ghost Engine that uses vulnerable drivers to turn off security products and deploy an XMRig miner. So this is quite an interesting one. Researchers at Elastic Security Labs have underlined the unusual sophistication of these crypto mining attacks in separate reports and shared detection rules to help defenders identify and stop them. However, the reports don't attribute the activity to known threat actors, nor does it share details about targets and victims, so the campaign's origin and scope remain unknown. So, whilst it's unclear how servers are initially breached, the threat actor's attack starts with the execution of a file named tiworker.exe, which masquerades as a legitimate Windows file. This executable is the initial staging payload for Ghost Engine, a PowerShell script that downloads various modules to conduct different behaviors on an infected device. When tiworker.exe is executed, it will download a PowerShell script named get.png from the attacker's command and control, that's C2 to you and I, server, which acts as Ghost Engine's primary loader. This PowerShell script downloads additional modules and their configurations, enables Windows Defender, enables remote services, and clears various Windows event logs. Next, get.png verifies that the system has at least 10 meg of free space, which is necessary for furthering the infection, and creates scheduled tasks named OneDrive Cloud Sync and Default Browser Update, and OneDrive Cloud Backup for persistence. The PowerShell script will now download and launch an executable named SmartScreen.exe, which acts as Ghost Engine's primary payload. This malware is responsible for terminating and deleting EDR software and downloading and launching the XMRig to mine for cryptocurrency. To terminate EDR software, Ghost Engine loads 2 vulnerable kernel drivers. And I will put the link up to this information in LinkedIn and YouTube and all the socials, so you can find these yourself. But it's aswarpots.syst, which is an Avast driver used to terminate EDR processes, and iobit.unlockers.syst, a fake iobit driver to delete the associated executable. So, for persistence, they also load DLL OCI.dll, and that's run by the MSDTC service. When started, the DLL will download a fresh copy of get.png to install the latest version of Ghost Engine on the machine. Next up, Rockwell Automation warns admin to disconnect devices from the internet. So, Rockwell Automation has sent an urgent message to all of its customers because of rising geopolitical issues and hostile cyber activity worldwide. The company is asking that any devices currently connected to the public internet to be checked out immediately and shut down if they aren't meant to do so. This proactive step is meant to lower the attack surface and lower the risk of harmful cyber activity from outside threat actors who are not allowed to do so. Rockwell Automation stresses that devices like cloud and edge offerings not made to connect to the public internet should never be set up to connect straight to the public internet. By cutting off this connection, users can make themselves much less vulnerable to online threats. So, well, that's not terribly interesting, is it? It's basically get your infrastructure right, keep stuff off of the public internet that shouldn't be on there and stick it behind a firewall, and you'll be fine. So, not really sure why Rockwell have made this recommendation. It kind of shouldn't need to be said, but they've chosen to say it anyway, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, that is your daily cyber briefing. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sure normal service will be resumed with Stephen Ridgway providing far more charisma to these proceedings in the mornings. Thanks very much.